The children of today will never know a world without advanced communication, whether it's mobile phones, Alexa or Instagram. Only 100 years ago we hoped for a world where we could communicate in a much simpler, universal way. But it wasn't quite that easy. As technology advances with each generation, our communication style is changing through social media. The question I want you to ask yourself is, has the advancement of technology done more harm than good? Every time we post a photo on Instagram, we are exposing ourselves to every single online user. Are you putting yourself in danger?
The Internet. It may seem like a fantastic place, but beware. There are Internet predators at every twist and turn. The one solution? Don't go on the Internet. Read a bike. Ride a book.
Hold up, stop the video.
Let's take it back to a time where it all began. The first way to really communicate through distance was through the African talking drum. African villagers would communicate through drumming to send important messages. This sort of longer distance communication is rare to find, but still present in today's world in some African tribes. One of the oldest forms of communication was through smoke signals, similar to African drumming. Villages and towns would communicate through smoke signals to send important messages. This is still present today in the Vatican, using black smoke to show there's no new pope has been chosen, red to show that there's a new pope. This style of communication began at the Great Wall of China to send long-distance messages. The first telegraph system came shortly after in 1792, where people wanted a way to send and receive news from remote locations so that they could better understand what was happening in the world around them, not just what was going on in their immediate town or city. This type of communication not only appealed to the media industry, but also to private individuals and companies who wished to stay in contact with loved ones. This was the first non-interactive way of longer distance communication. Telegraphy revolutionized America by making it possible to know when trains were leaving and when they were expected to arrive. The first transatlantic conversation was in 1858 between Queen Victoria and President Buchanan, which consisted of 98 words, and the cables ran 2,000 miles and underground. The telephone really did change history and alter the way we live. It changed humanity and was more of an evolution than a revolution. The first telephone was created by Alexander Graham Bell. He had been fascinated by the idea of transmitting speech, and in 1875 came up with a really simple receiver that turned electricity into sound. This was a huge advancement in that day and age, as it opened lots of doors and created lots of possibilities. Early phone calls involved an operator who connected you to who you want to talk to. In the late 1920s, the iconic vintage telephone was created, which crammed a transceiver and receiver into one machine. By 1969, 90% of American households owned a telephone, as it became a personal device. The device was so amazing to the nation that they were oblivious to the inconvenience of wires. By early 1970s, Motorola released the first wireless telephone, the Dynatec 8000X, which weighed 2 pounds, had a battery life of 20 minutes and costed $10,000 in today's currency. Technology then advanced with the idea of text messaging becoming a reality through companies such as Nokia, offering a service of a camera in a mobile phone, which was completely unheard of in that era.
Introducing the new Nokia 3810, the small mobile phone with the large display. Nokia, connecting people.
How old were you when you first got a phone?
How old?
Yeah.
That's the question. Ooh. I was about 27.
27. What, for your first phone? Right. And how did that make an impact on your life compared to when you didn't before?
Yeah, it was it was just wonderful. Just getting a phone was the real in thing. Nobody used to have, especially.
How did you? Because people our age would question how you would function without a phone. Because obviously,
I know that time it was just it was nothing. It was just purely. It wasn't making calls was not priority. It was just what do you call it? A luxury to have it.
Yeah.
It's just a status symbol thing that you had phone. It was, but not anything that we would really need it.
Right. Okay. And then could you imagine a world today without social media?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Why? Why not?
Everything revolves around social media, work.
But
Yeah.
what about before the technological shift? Before all of our world started being about social media, like compare. How would you compare it?
How would I compare it?
Yeah, like
They're different times. It's all different times. That time, it was more of meeting friends, going out, things like that. Now everything is to social media, getting in touch. It's a totally different life, so you can't compare them.
I also remember, so back in the day, a phone was just a phone. Whereas now you've got your camera and everything on it. So if there's an accident or if there's anything going on, you can film it. Like, I think, how old was I? When was September the 11th? So 8, 9, 10, 11. So when September the 11th happened, a lot of that footage was done by camcorder. But if you imagine, if everyone had camera phones like they do now, there would be so much more footage and so much more footage for the police and the investigators to go by. So in some respects it is quite good.
yeah.
Because you can pick up a lot more and it can help solve crimes or whatever. Or if you're in a little car accident, people used to have like a little wind-up disposable camera in case they had a little bang and they could take photos of the damage. But now you just get your phone out. So it does make things easier.
Yeah.
But in some respects, there's two things. It makes it easier, but you still got to keep your manners. Don't always whip the phone out. You've got to talk to people.
Do you think that, in terms of communication, young people who are being born into this really technologically advanced era, do you think that they are going to really struggle with social communication when they get older?
Definitely.
Really?
I know a little boy, one of my friend's little boys, he got a book and he was trying to swipe it.
No. Oh
And that's
my
just a
god, that's
book.
sad.
Yeah. But people need to learn to communicate. When I was younger, I was the shyest person ever. And talking to people, like face to face, dealing with situations, like working in a pub, you have to deal with all sorts of situations. You can't just get on your phone and be like, can someone help me? And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. It really brought myself out of my shell. As long as
and their title is, has the advancement of technology had a positive or negative effect on today's communication style? That's a big thing to take in from that. Right, so the first question is, how old were you when you first got a phone?
9 years old.
You were 9 years old.
I had just moved countries from Brazil to New Zealand, so it was more of a security kind of thing. So my parents gave me a phone, more of a something goes down, then use it as an emergency.
Right, okay. And was it the same with other family members as well?
My sister didn't get one because she was 7 at the time, so...
All right.
But my parents had a phone by the time we got there.
Yeah, of course. Can you imagine a world without social media?
Yes and no. So I can think about how it would go, but I can also think about how boring it would be if I couldn't just message my friend like, hey, you want to hang out today, or anything similar. So yeah, but it's just not a fun world.
Yeah, okay. And what are your thoughts on viral challenges? Like, there was obviously like the Bird Box challenge where people were driving around with like a blindfold on. Like, do you think that in a sense they can actually be more dangerous than fun?
I find that when they first came out, they were just, they're little fun things to do, activities like the cinnamon challenge, which is something fun and didn't hurt. And then you started getting the Tide Pod challenge or the Bird Box challenge. I'm like, think we're going too far with this.
Yeah.
So I find that now they're becoming more destructive than fun, as they were first meant to be.
Do you think that there's any way of preventing that, or do you think that it will just always be that way, that it's up to like a person if they're going to take it too far and put actually themselves at risk?
They're always prevent it. So like, of course, parents can keep an eye out and use like family-controlled apps that can help them keep an eye on what their kids are looking at and everything. But there'll always be ways around it.
Yeah.
Like they started banning stuff on Facebook and all this, and now people are taking it to YouTube on that Momo challenge,
Yeah.
which is a new thing. So there's always gonna be something new.
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta try and be steps ahead of it, but you never know how social media or what is new is gonna be. You never know what the new thing is gonna be in the world, so you can never just stop it. Unless you just don't give your kid a phone till they're like 15, but then...
Yeah. Do you like how our primary use of communication is text rather than speaking? Like people, for example, people meet their partners, not even in person, like through apps like Tinder or social media. Like, do you think that's like good? Like, or do you think it's not?
It's strange for me because I don't message much. I absolutely hate using Facebook and all that to message people. We'll use Discord or wait to actually talk voice to voice. Or you like me, your partner. I met my partner 3 years before we actually started dating. So we were best friends before anything happened.
There is many different pros and cons to this technological evolution. For example, the practicality of being able to internationally communicate so easily was unheard of 100 years ago. However, this has had negative effects which could affect and is already affecting new and future generations. Some pros of today's communication through technology is that there are no barriers. Communication is so much easier than before, to the point if you need to get information, you can phone them or email them. Another pro is that it has helped to strengthen relationships, as worldwide communication is now accessible to so many different people from all different backgrounds. A third pro is that technological elements of communication like video conferencing has made it possible to give the best education to students via expert faculty on the web. There has also been a huge impact on relations. Finding a partner has never been so easy, as single people can use dating websites such as Match.com or Tinder. Social media also allows people to retain long-distance relationships. Video chats and social networking are the main ways people stay in touch now. Although social media has a lot of pros and the constant advancement of technology has been so beneficial to the new generations, there has been some negative effects. The first impact is on interpersonal communication. The current generation lacks essential interpersonal skills, the ability to express the ideas and thoughts to others face to face. A reason for this is the primary use of communication is through texting or chatting on websites. Technological means of communication have also affected non-verbal communication. Lack of face-to-face interaction has reduced the non-verbal grasping power of individuals. A commonly brought up issue is with Generation Z, otherwise known as the snowflake generation, as its teenagers especially are always hooked on social networking sites. They are more close to online friends, but the emotional gap between parents and children has increased considerably. The communication is missing. Parents are not as technologically advanced with it as their kids, as they didn't grow up in that era, and are not used to communication style of their kids. It comes across as teenagers caring more about their online life rather than their social life. Another issue is that people have literally become addicted to the internet and mobile phones. This addiction leads to anxiety and mental health disorders. People who are addicted to the internet feel lonely and isolated. The final issue is that there is a lot of malicious activity that goes on the internet, such as online grooming, accessing drugs on the dark web, cyberbullying, or even radicalisation. There are a lot of negative effects social media has had on today's society, such as starting viral trends. The concept of something being viral through social media is interesting, funny, or challenging content being shared continuously through various social media platforms. The more dangerous element comes from the challenge element, as when someone sees a challenge video on, example, Facebook, they aren't thinking about the potential health risks they could encounter, and unfortunately, the more people that take part, the higher chance of someone hurting themselves unintentionally. Videos that go viral are videos that have stimulated emotion from a viewer, such as anger, sadness, or laughter and happiness. Contrasting opinions can be a reason a particular piece of content goes viral. The children being born into this era will never know a world without social media or technology. From research, I found out that only 30% of teenagers can imagine a world without a smartphone, whilst the average age of people with a phone is 11. How has the technological shift affected your communication, and how has it affected your life?